Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Nico. Hi, Yami. Hi, Red. Hi, Haxa. Hi, Maple. So many people. Oh my gosh, that was. Oh, wow. I missed the line. There we go. Hello. Good evening. Hope y'all doing good. Hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. Why is Spotify so loud all of a sudden? You should stay quieter. There we go. That's better. Yes. Yeah. As the title and chat already said, we're gonna read books in Skyrim today. Yippee! This is absolutely not any of my expertises. I mean reading, or Skyrim, or anything. Yes, it's basically the math stream. Pretend this is math. Yes. If you're a free Horker and a giant, and you add 2 mammoths, what do you get? That's your math equation. Stupid Avali math. Yeah. You know, that's true. That is true, Nika. Now, I have no idea how exactly I'm gonna do this. I thought of like reading a book or two, then like walking to another location, having the background noise of Skyrim just be there while talking to you guys. And reading another or two. I collected like 30 different books. Sadly enough, a few were missing volume 1 or 2 or something, so I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yes. Hey, if I can fly on Earth, at least I can jump off a cliff or something. That's how the saying goes, right? If at first you don't succeed, give up. No. Alright, Bah. This story doesn't... Skyrim is difficult to stream. The video capture doesn't work usually. Oh, there we go. There we go. We're in Skyrim. Look at High Roughgar up there. Yeah, this is a completely new character because on the special edition I don't have any characters apparently. Otherwise it would be in Windhelm. The heck? You can see yogurt? You need the yogurt. Yogurt is important. How do I walk? That's how I walk. We're out here in our little cabin. In the middle of nowhere. In the shadow of some old stones. Can't believe this game is 10 years old. And dragons from time to time? What? I did not know that, Nika. Not a single mod. I play my games vanilla. She's not called Anja. It's a niece. Niece's cabin. You can see I really... This is a completely new character. I'm not gonna crash. No, she's a nice elderly lady. She was here. She had to go on some errands. She had to get some ingredients for some sort of soup, I think. Something like that. Told her not to go in the basement. And you know, I respect the elderly's wishes. She did ask me to watch over this place. And that's exactly what we will do. A nice little hut. As you can see, I did collect a few books. Only a few of them, of course. That's not bad, she just walked away. Don't worry about it. I'm not sure which of these I want to read. I wanted to read Berenzia, but again, couldn't find volume 1. Sadness. So initially what I have here is like the brief history of the Empire, volume 1 through 4. Of course, work a sheet. We cannot ignore the cats of Skyrim. Bit of an entry to the bestiary. Fishing tutorial. I don't know what this is. I don't know what any of these are. I must admit, I have never read the books here in this game. Ever. I have no idea about the lore of Tamriel or the Elder Scrolls in general. So... just taking a few more. There we go. Random bounty. Yeah! I have no idea how to properly start this. Extreme Tactics is an Imperial Art of War clone. Huh. The Gonian Maid didn't bother with many others. The thing about the last Digonian Maid is, I don't know where to find the books. I know there's a few in Riften, but there were none in Whiterun. I collected these books today, so... for once I didn't want to postpone a promise that I made to chat. Look at how peaceful it is here. Do let me know if the game is too loud, too quiet, if any of the volume is off. I mean, considering that Skyrim is a mature game, we are definitely marked for 18 plus right now on Twitch by default. I can't even turn it off. So we could theoretically read that. Yeah, Real Berenzia I missed in the first volume. Otherwise I would. Dance in Fire and the Gonian account. I think... wait, aren't those books that I have? I feel like I'm stalling. Well, I'm not really stalling. I have none of those books. Nope, I have none of those. It is violence and blood and alcohol and foul speech. Pretty sure that's the only reason why the game is 18 plus. Well, 16 plus. I didn't know Dance in Fire was also one of those. Oop. That's a nice enough backdrop. Oh my god, there's so many books. Hey, Emperor. Hey. It's not really that I'm looking for missing books right now. This is probably gonna be a one-off thing. Yeah. Unless Reception is really good, then I might potentially turn it into a YouTube series or something. But I'm not planning on doing streams like this all that often. And I mean, finding any missing book. Come on. I just need to be, was it Archmage of Winterhold or something, and then, like, break into the library? I'm pretty sure I got most of the stuff done. Which I would have done if I still had my old save files. Either way, without further ado, let's start with reading. I do not know how to read. I do not know how to purposefully read on stream, so forgive me. We will suffer through this together. I made a promise that I'd do this. I will do this. I just need water first. My mouth's so very dry. Hi cat. Hi. I learned how to read. We learned how to read the Skyrim. See, this is a reading stream. A learn how to read stream. Also, I wanted to buy the house in Whiterun, but with the little time that I played today, I could not afford the gold. As you can see, I'm missing 2,000 gold. No more, 3,000. Either way, I'm stalling. A dream of Sovngarde. In a few hours, I will likely be dead. My men and I, Lords of Skyrim all, will soon join with the Emperor's legion to attack the Imperial city. The Eldmeri are entrenched within, and our losses will be severe. It is a desperate gambit, but if we do not reclaim the city, we will lose the war. Last night I prayed to mighty Talos for courage and strength in the battle to come. In these last cold hours before the sun rises, I sit down to write this account of a dream I had not long after. I believe this dream was the answer to my prayers, and I would pass along the wisdom it contained to my kinsmen, for the battles they will fight in the years after my passing. In the dream I walked through mists towards the sound of laughter, merriment and the songs of the north. The mist soon cleared, and before me lay a great chasm. Waters thundered over its brim, and so deep it was I could not see the bottom. A great bridge made all of whalebone was the only means to cross, and so I took it. It was only a few steps onto the bridge that I encountered a warrior, grim and strong. "I am Tsun, master of trials," he said to me, his voice booming and echoing upon the walls of the high mountains all around us. With a wave, he bade me pass on. I knew in my heart that I was granted passage only because I was a visitor. Should the hour come when I return here after my mortal life, the legends say that I must best this dread warrior in single combat. Beyond the bridge, a great stone longhouse rose up before me, so tall as to nearly touch the clouds. Though it took all of my strength, I pushed open the towering oaken door and beheld the torch-lit feast hall. Here were assembled the greatest heroes of the north, all drinking mead poured from great kegs and singing battle songs. Suckling pigs turned on a long iron spit over a roaring fire. My mouth watered at the smell of roast meat, and my heart was glad to hear the songs of old. "Come forth!" cried out a hoary man, sat upon a high wooden chair. "This is new to be Isgramor, father of Skyrim and the north." I approached and knelt before him. "You find yourself in Sovngarde, hall of the honored dead. Now, what would you have of me, son of the north?" he bellowed. "I seek counsel," said I, "for tomorrow we fight a desperate battle, and my heart is full of fear." Isgramor raised his tankard to his lips and drank until the cup was empty. Then he spoke once more. "Remember this always, son of the north. A Nord is judged not by the manner in which he lived, but the manner in which he died." With that, he cast aside his flagon, raised his fist in the air, and roared a great cheer. The other heroes rose to their feet and cheered in answer. The sound still rang in my ears when I awoke. I gathered my men and told them of my vision. The words seemed to fill their hearts with courage. The horns are blowing, and the banners are raised. The time has come to muster. May Talos grant us victory this day, and if I am found worthy, may I once again look upon that great feast hall. Gardan Freewinter. That's a nice little book. Small insight into the Nord afterlife. Only the first of the many books we're gonna read today. What else do we have? Daedra and Daedra. Sorry, my brain shut off for a second. Daedra and Daedra. The designations of gods, demons, Aedra and Daedra are universally confusing to the layman. They are often used interchangeably. Aedra and Daedra are not relative terms. They are elvish and exact. Azura is a Daedra, both in Skyrim and Morrowind. Aedra is usually translated as ancestor, which is as close as Cyrodiilic can come to this elven concept. I will hydrate. I forgot. Daedra means, roughly, not our ancestors. This distinction was crucial to Dunmer, whose fundamental split in ideology is represented in the mythical genealogy. Aedra are associated with stasis. Daedra represent change. Aedra created the mortal world and are bound to the earth bones. Daedra, who cannot create, have the power to change. As part of the divine contract of creation, the Aedra can be killed. Witness Lorcan in the moons. The Protean Daedra, for whom the rules do not apply, can only be banished. Taking a sip of water after every book might be a really good idea. Thank you, Rat. Let's keep going alphabetically. Alduin is real, and he and Akatosh, with Rumgar Ironhead, proud north. As my dad used to say, Imperials are idiots. That is why I am writing this book. I had never wrote a book before, and do not reckon to write one again. But sometimes a man must do what a man must do. And what I must do is set the record straight about the god called Akatosh and the dragon called Alduin. They ain't the same thing, no matter what the Imperials might say, how they might wish it to be so. My dad was never one for the gods, but my ma was. She worshipped all the divine, and taught me lots of things. So I know a thing or two about Akatosh, just as much any Imperial. I know he was the first of all the gods to take shape in the beginning place, and I know he is the shape of a dragon. My dad even told me the story of Martyr Septim, and the things that happened when the gates of Oblivion opened. Septim turned into the spirit of Akatosh and killed Marunas Dagon. Now I don't know about you, but any dragon that fights the Prince of Destruction is okay by me. Now I hope you understand the problem. Akatosh is good. Everyone, from North to Imperial, knows that. But Alduin? He ain't good. He's the opposite of good. That Alduin is evil through and through. So you see, Akatosh and Alduin can't be one and the same. Growing up as a lad in Skyrim, I heard all the stories. Told to me by my da, who was told by his da, who was told by his da, and so on. And one of those stories was about Alduin. But see, he wasn't Akatosh. He was another dragon, and a real one at that. Akatosh is some kind of spirit dragon, I think. When he bothers to be a dragon at all, and not a god living in some kind of god place like Oblivion. But Alduin is a real dragon. Flesh and teeth and a mean streak longer than the White River. There was a time when Alduin tried to rule over all of Skyrim with other dragons. In the end, it took some mighty strong heroes to finally kill Alduin and be done with his whole story. So I got to ask, does that sound like Akatosh to you? No, friend. No, it do not. And so I, Rumgar Ironhead, do firmly say with the utmost conviction that Alduin is real, and he ain't Akatosh. We love good old Alduin, Akatosh. Nords can be so poetic too. Even if they really do not know how to write, how grammar works, or I forgot the opposite of grammar. Aww, I'd feel honored if you do that. Especially if you can fall asleep yet. Little change in scenery. Stretch. Extra stretch. Thank you, neck. Also, hi, neck. Well, most of us probably already know a lot about the Empire of Skyrim. Well, Empire of Tamriel, really. There are a lot of books about it. I think it's time to learn about the brief history of the Empire. Part 1. Restranok Kutosh III, Imperial Historian. Before the rule of Tiber Septim, all Tamriel was in chaos. The poet Trishis called that period of continuous unrest days of night and of blood and venom. The kings were a petty lot of grasping tyrants who fought Tiber's attempts to bring order to the land. But they were as disorganized as they were dissolute, and the strong hand of Septim brought peace forcibly to Tamriel. The year was 2E 896. The following year, the emperor declared the beginning of a new era. Thus began the third era, year Odd. For 38 years, the Emperor Tiber reigned supreme. It was a lawful, pious, and glorious age, and justice was known to one and all, from serf to sovereign. On Tiber's death, it reigned for an entire fortnight, as if the land of Tamriel itself was weeping. The emperor's grandson, Pelagius, came to the throne. Though his reign was short, he was as strong and resolute as his father had been, and Tamriel could have enjoyed the continuation of the Golden Age. Alas, an unknown enemy of the Septim family hired that accursed organization of cutthroats, the Dark Brotherhood, to kill the Emperor Pelagius the Emperor Pelagius I, as he knelt at prayer at the Temple of the One in the Imperial City. Pelagius I's reign lasted less than 3 years. Pelagius had no living children, so the crown imperial passed to his first cousin, the daughter of Tiber's brother Agnoreth. Kintira, former queen of Silvanar, assumed the throne of Kintira I. Her reign was blessed with prosperity and good harvest, and she herself was an avid patroness of art, music, and dance. Kintira's son was crowned after her death, the first emperor of Tamriel to use the imperial name Uriel. Uriel I was the great lawmaker of the Septim dynasty and the promoter of independent organizations and guilds. Under his kind but firm hand, the Fighters Guild and the Mages Guild increased in prominence throughout Tamriel. His son and successor, Uriel II, reigned for 18 years, from the death of Uriel I in 3E64 to Pelagius II's ascension in 3E82. Tragically, the rule of Uriel II was cursed with blight, plagues, and insurrection. The tenderness he inherited from his father did not serve Tamriel well, and little justice was done. Pelagius II inherited not only the throne from his father, but the debt from the latter's poor financial and judicial management. Pelagius dismissed all of the elder council and allowed only those willing to pay great sums to assume the seats. He encouraged similar acts among his vassals, the kings of Tamriel, and by the end of his 17-year reign, Tamriel had returned to prosperity. His critics, however, have suggested that any advisor possessed of wisdom, but not of gold, had been summarily ousted by Pelagius. This may have led to some of the troubles his son Antiochus faced when he in turn became emperor. Antiochus was certainly one of the more flamboyant members of the usually austere Septim family. He had numerous mistresses and nearly as many wives, and was renowned for the grandeur of his dress and his high good humor. Unfortunately, his reign was rife with civil war, surpassing even that of his grandfather Uriel II. The War of the Isle in 3E 110, 12 years after Antiochus assumed the throne, nearly took the province of Somerset Isle away from Tamriel. The united alliance of the kings of Somerset and Antiochus only managed to defeat King Orgum and the island kingdom of Paiandonea due to a freak storm. Legend credits the Psychic Order of the Isle of Ateum with the sorcery behind the tempest. The story of Kintera II, heiress to her father Antiochus' throne, is certainly one of the saddest tales in imperial history. Her first cousin Uriel, son of Queen Potame of Solitude, accused Kintera of being a bastard, alluding to the infamous decadence of the imperial city during her father's reign. When this accusation failed to stop her coronation, Uriel bought the support of several disgruntled kings of High Rock, Skyrim, and Morrowind, and with Queen Potima's assistance, he coordinated 3 attacks on the Septim Empire. The first attack occurred in the Iliac Bay region, which separates High Rock and Hammerfell. Kintera's entourage was massacred and the empress taken captive. For 2 years, Kintera II languished in an imperial prison, believed to be somewhere in Glenpoint or Glenmoral, before she was slain in a cell under mysterious circumstances. The second attack was in a series of imperial garrisons along the coastal Morrowind Islands. The Empress's consort, Contin Erings, fell defending the forts. The third and final attack was the siege of the imperial city itself, occurring after the Elder Council had split up the army to attack western High Rock and eastern Morrowind. The weakened government had little defense against Uriel's determined aggression, and capitulated after only a fortnight of resistance. Uriel took the throne at the same evening and proclaimed himself Uriel III, Emperor of Tamriel. The year was 3E 121. Thus began the War of the Red Diamond, described in Volume 2 of this series. We have Volume 2 right here. Brief History of the Empire, Part 2. Astronaut Katosh III, Imperial Historian, and I have been caged for your protection. Should I put up actual Skyrim soundtrack in the background? The looks of it is rather quiet. Hold up. I'll make it a bit louder. There you go. Not the awesome politician. No, that's a different one. Volume 1 of the series described in brief the lives of the first 8 emperors of the Septim dynasty, beginning with the glorious Tiber Septim and ending with his great-great-great-great-grandniece Kintera II. Kintera's murder in Glenpoint while in captivity is considered by some to be the end of the pure strain of Septim blood in the imperial family. Certainly, it marks the end of something significant. Uriel III not only proclaimed himself Emperor of Tamriel, but also Uriel Septim III, taking the eminent surname as a title. In truth, his surname? His surname was Montiarco from his father's line. In time, Uriel III was deposed and his crimes reviled, with the tradition of taking the name Septim as the title for the Emperor of Tamriel did not die with him. For 6 years, the War of the Red Diamond, which takes its name from the Septim family's famous badge, tore the Empire apart. The combatants were the 3 surviving children of Pelagius II, Fatima, Severus, and Magnus, and their various offspring. Fatima, of course, supported her son Uriel III, and had the combined support of all of Skyrim and northern Morrowind. With the efforts of Severus and Magnus, however, the province of High Rock turned cold. The provinces of Hammerfell, Somerset Isle, Waylandwood, Elswire, and Blackmarsh were divided in their loyalty, but most kings supported Severus and Magnus. In 3E 127, Uriel III was captured at the Battle of Ichidag in Hammerfall. En route to his trial in the Imperial City, a mob overtook his prisoner's carriage and burned him alive within it. His captor and uncle continued on to the Imperial City, and by common acclaim was proclaimed Severus I, Emperor of Tamriel. Severus's reign was marked by nothing but war. By all accounts, he was a kind and intelligent man, but what Tamriel needed was a great warrior. And he, fortunately, was that. It took an additional 10 years of constant warfare for him to defeat his sister Fatima, the so-called Wolf Queen of Solitude, had died in the siege of his city-state in the year 137. Severus survived his sister by only 3 years. He never had time during the war years to marry, so it was his brother, the 4th child of Pelagius II, who assumed the throne. The Emperor Magnus was already elderly when he took up the imperial diadem, and the business of punishing the traitorous kings of the War of the Red Diamond drained much of his remaining strength. Legend accuses Magnus' son and heir Pelagius III of patricide, but that seems highly unlikely. No other reason than that Pelagius was king of Solitude following the death of Fatima, and seldom visited the imperial city. Pelagius III, sometimes called Pelagius the Mad, was proclaimed emperor in the 145th year of the Third Era. Almost from the start, his eccentricities of behavior were noted at court. He embarrassed dignitaries, offended his vassal kings, and on one occasion marked the end of an imperial grand ball by attempting to hang himself. His long-suffering wife was finally awarded the regency of Tamriel, and Pelagius III was sent to a series of healing institutions and asylums until his death in 3E 153 at the age of 34. The Empress Regent of Tamriel was proclaimed Empress Kateria I upon the death of her husband. Some who do not mark the end of the Septim bloodline with the death of Kateria II consider the ascendancy of this dark elf woman the true mark of his decline. Her defenders, on the other hand, assert that though Kateria was not descended from Tiber, the son she had of Pelagius was, so the imperial chain did continue. Despite racist assertions to the contrary, Kateria's 46-year reign was one of the most celebrated in Tamriel's history. And comfortable in the imperial city, Kateria traveled extensively throughout the empire, such as no emperor ever had since Tiber's day. She repaired much of the damage the previous emperor's broken alliances and bungled diplomacy created. The people of Tamriel come to love the empress far more than the nobility did. Kateria's death in a minor skirmish in Blackmarsh is a favorite subject of conspiracy-minded historians. The sage Montelius' discovery, for instance, of a disenfranchised branch of the Septim family and the involvement with the skirmish was a revelation indeed. When Cassandra assumed the throne upon the death of his mother, he was already middle-aged, only half-elven, aged like a Breton. In fact, he had left the rule of Rayvrest to his half-brother, Uriel, due to poor health. Nevertheless, as the only true blood relation of Pelagius and thus Tiber, he was pressed into accepting the throne. To no one's surprise, the Emperor Cassandra's reign did not last long, In 2 years, he joined his predecessors in eternal slumber. Uriel Lariat, Cassindra's half-brother, and a child of Kateria I and her imperial consort, Gulliver Lariat, after the death of Pelagius I, left the kingdom of Wayrest to reign as Uriel IV. Legally, Uriel IV was accepted. Cassindra had adopted him into the royal family when he had become king of Wayrest. Nevertheless, to the council and the people of Tamriel, he was a bastard child of Kateria. Uriel did not possess the dynamism of his mother, and his long 43-year reign was a hotbed of sedition. Uriel IV's story is told in the 3rd volume of the series. Hey Tenko! Good evening. I hope you're doing well. I didn't miss all that much. Missed Adriel Sovngarde, Adra Daedra, Elduin Israel, and these two. I'll be needing a lot of water with this. Gosh. So hi Madcap. Hello. What? Give me 1 second. Here we go. A Brief History of the Empire, Part 3, by Stronach Katosh III, Imperial Historian. The first volume of this series told in brief the story of the succession of the first 8 emperors of the Septim dynasty, from Taiva I to Kintera II. The second volume described the War of the Red Diamond and the 6 emperors that followed its aftermath, from Uriel III to Cassindra I. At the end of that volume, it was described that the Emperor Cassindra's half-brother Uriel IV assumed the throne of the Empire of Tamriel. It will be recalled that Uriel IV was not a Septim by birth. His mother, though she reigned as empress for many years, was a dark elf married to a true Septim emperor, Pelagius III. Uriel's father was actually Kataria I's consort after Pelagius' death, a Breton nobleman named Gulliver Lariat. Before taking the throne of empire, Cassindra I had ruled the kingdom of Wayrest, but poor health had forced him to retire. Cassindra had no children, so he legally adopted his half-brother Uriel and abdicated the kingdom. 7 years later, Cassindra inherited the empire at the death of his mother. 3 years after that, Uriel once again found himself the recipient of Cassindra's inheritance. Uriel IV's reign was a long and difficult one. Despite being a legally adopted member of the Septim family, and despite the Lariat family's high position, indeed, they were distant cousins of the Septims, few of the Elder Council could be persuaded to accept him fully as a blood descendant of Tiber. The council had assumed much responsibility during Kateria I's long reign and Cassindra I's short one, and a strong-willed alien monarch like Uriel IV found it impossible to command their unswerving fealty. Time and again, the council and emperor were at odds, and time and again, the council won the battles. The days of Pelagius II, the Elder Council had consisted of the wealthiest men and women in the empire, and the power they wielded was conclusive. The council's last victory over Uriel IV was posthumous. Andarek, Uriel IV's son. Whoa! Thank you for the follow. Oh, what? Andarek, Uriel IV's son, was disinherited by vote of council, and a cousin more closely related to the original septim line was proclaimed, Severus II in 3E 247. For the first 9 years of Severus II's reign, those loyal to Andarach battled the imperial forces, in an act that the sage Arantine called Tiber Septim's heart beating no more. The council granted Andarach the High Rock Kingdom of Scornhelm to end the war, and Andarach's descendants still rule there. By and large, Severus II had foes that demanded more of his attention than Andarach. From out of a Sumerian nightmare, in the words of Arantine, a man who called himself the Cameron usurper led an army of Daedra and undead warriors on a rampage for Valenwood, conquering kingdom after kingdom. Few could resist his onslaught, and as month turned to bloody month in the year 3E 249, even fewer tried. Severus II sent more and more mercenaries into Hammerfell to stop the usurper's northward march, but they were bribed or slaughtered and raised as undead. The story of the Cameron usurper deserves a book of its own. It is recommended that the reader find Paulo Ilfres, The Fall of the Usurper, for more detail. In short, however, the destruction of the forces of the usurper had little to do with the efforts of the emperor. The result was a great regional victory and an increase in hostility toward the seemingly inefficacious empire. Uriel V, Severus II's son and successor, swiveled opinion back toward the latent power of the empire. Turning the attention of Tamriel away from internal strife, Uriel V embarked on a series of invasions beginning almost from the moment he took the throne in 3E 268. Uriel V conquered Roscrea in 271, Yavnoki in 276, Idneslea in 279, and Esroniet in 284. In 3E 288, he embarked on his most ambitious enterprise, the invasion of the continent kingdom of Akavir. This ultimately proved a failure, for 2 years later Uriel V was killed in Akavir on the battlefield of Ionev. Nevertheless, Uriel V holds a reputation second only to Tiber as one of the 2 great warrior emperors of Tamriel. The last 4 emperors, beginning with Uriel V's infant son, are described in the 4th and final volume of the series. Gotta expand the kingdom? If Tamriel's not big enough, make Tamriel 2.0. It was a worthy attempt, I suppose. I mean, it lasted 2 years. I must admit, I don't know anything about the lore of the Elder Scroll, besides a little bit of Skyrim stuff and a little bit of Morrowind stuff. Is Akavir where the curved sword people came from, or did they come from Hammerfell? Because to be honest, I'm not even sure. Or different sword. I'm learning a lot about the lore of the Elder Scrolls while reading this. It's kinda awesome. And as Stronach said, there's one more and final book in the series that we have right here. A Brief History of the Empire, Part 4. By Stronach Bitosh III, Imperial Historian. The first book of the series described, in brief, the first 8 emperors of the Septim dynasty, beginning with Tiber I. The second volume described the War of the Red Diamond and the 6 emperors who followed. The third volume described the troubles of the next three emperors, the frustrated Uriel IV, the ineffectual Severus II, and the heroic Uriel V. On Uriel V's death across the sea in distant, hostile Akavir, Uriel VI was but 5 years old. In fact, Uriel VI was born only shortly before his father left for Akavir. Uriel V's only other progeny, by a morganatic alliance, were the twins Morihafa and Eloisa, who had been born a month after Uriel V left. Uriel VI was crowned in the 290th year of the Third Era. The imperial consort Phonica, as the boy's mother, was given a restricted regency until Uriel VI reached his maturity. The Elder Council retained the real power, as they had ever since the days of Kateria I. The Council so enjoyed its unlimited and unrestricted freedom to promulgate laws and generate profits that Uriel VI was not given full license to rule until 307, when he was already 22 years old. He had been slowly assuming positions of responsibility for years, but both the Council and his mother, who enjoyed even her limited regency, were loath to hand over the reins. By the time he came to the throne, the mechanisms of government gave him little power except for that of the imperial veto. In this power, however, he regularly and vigorously exercised. By 313, Uriel VI could boast with conviction that he truly did rule Tamriel. He utilized defunct spy networks and guard units to bully and coerce the difficult members of the Elder Council. His half-sister, Morifafa, was, not surprisingly, his staunchest ally, especially after a marriage to Baron Ulf Gerson of Winterhold brought her considerable wealth and influence. As the sage Ugarich said, Uriel V conquered Esroniet, but Uriel VI conquered the Elder Council. When Uriel VI fell off a horse and could not be resuscitated by the finest imperial healers, his beloved sister Morifafa took up the imperial tiara. 25 years of age, she had been described by admittedly self-serving diplomats as the most beautiful creature in all of Tamriel. She was certainly well learned, vivacious, athletic, and a well-practiced politician. She brought the Archmagister of Skyrim to the imperial city and created the second imperial battle mage since the days of Tyrus Septim. Morifafa finished the job her brother had begun and made the imperial province a true government under the Empress, and later the Emperor. Outside the imperial province, however, the empire had been slowly disintegrating. Open revolutions and civil wars had raged unchallenged since the days of her grandfather Severus II. Carefully coordinating her counterattacks, Morifafa slowly claimed back her rebellious vassals, always avoiding overextending herself. Though Morifafa's military campaigns were remarkably successful, her deliberate pace often frustrated the council. One councilman, an Agonian who took the Colovian name of Oricles Romus, furious at her refusal to send troops to his troubled Black Marsh, is commonly believed to have hired the assassins who claimed to life in 3E 339. Romus was summarily tried and executed, though he protested his innocence to the last. Morifafa had no surviving children, and Eloisa had died of a fever 4 years before. Eloisa's 25-year-old son Pelagius was thus crowned Pelagius IV. Pelagius IV continued his aunt's work, slowly bringing back under his wing the radical and refractory kingdoms, duchies, and baronies of the empire. He exercised Morifafa's poise and circumspect pace in his endeavors, but alas, he did not attain their success. The kingdoms had been free of constraint for so long that even a benign imperial presence was considered odious. Nevertheless, when Pelagius died after a notably stable and prosperous 29-year reign, Tamriel was closer to unity than it had been since the days of Uriel I. A current emperor, His Awesome and Terrible Majesty, Uriel II, son of Pelagius IV, has the diligence of his great-aunt Morifafa, the political skill of his great-uncle Uriel VI, and the military prowess of his great-grand-uncle Uriel V. For 21 years he reigned and brought justice and order to Tamriel. In the year 3E 389, however, his imperial battle mage, Jagar Farn, betrayed him. Uriel VII was imprisoned in a dimension of Farn's creation, and Farn used the sorcery of illusion to assume the Emperor's aspect. For the next 10 years, Farn abused imperial privilege but did not continue Uriel VII's schedule of reconquest. It is not yet entirely known what Farn's goals and personal accomplishments were during the 10 years he masqueraded as the Liege Lord. In 3E 399, an enigmatic champion defeated the battle mage in the dungeons of the Imperial Palace and freed Uriel VII from his other dimensional jail. Since his emancipation, Uriel VII has worked diligently to renew the battles that would reunite Tamriel. Farn's interference broke the momentum, it is true, but the years since then have proven that there is hope of the golden age of Tivus Septim's rule glorifying Tamriel once again. And this, my dear listeners, was a brief history of the Empire. A lot of knowledge combined in this one little book. Learning about all the different empires and emperors, all until this very day. The rule of Uriel VII still going strong. Indeed. Let me just... turn the books we already read away. I still have quite a lot in our... well, in our little house that we are watching over until the old lady comes back. Yeah, I found this place and it was like an old lady sitting here. She told me not to go into her basement, and naturally I'm not going to break into other people's basement. You know me, I'm a good bird. I don't break rules. And then she told me she needs to go on some errands, needs to find some ingredients for some soup, a potion or some sort of thing. And told me that I should watch the house. Well, she asked me if I could watch the house for her. And you know, being the trustworthy cat lady that I am, I naturally obliged. I don't know when she'll be back. She didn't tell me where she's going. As far as the dangerous though, I truly hope that she's okay. And one day she will return. And until then, we stay here and browse through her library. So thanks for the hydration, Nick. Enjoying the beauty of Tamriel's, I want to say, most beautiful province. I'm sure she is. I saw some wolves on the way here, but if she lives here, we can probably avoid them. Do another small change of scenery. Well, before the Red Mountain exploded, but like, the Red Mountain is gone. Therefore, this is the most beautiful. Hey, look at this. The water. We love water. Always remember to drink enough water. Now we have a lot of books left that we could read. And as a Khajiit, I feel it is only a good idea to read about the cats of Skyrim. Cats of Skyrim, a report by Elder Tual. I have been sent to this frigid wasteland to catalogue and study any of its indigenous cats, which has so far been uneventful. After months of wandering, I have so far only encountered some variations of the same basic species. In my travels, I have encountered several Khajiit outcasts from the clans that have taken up residence in Skyrim. They have been most unhelpful, probably for fear I'd expose the location. I can't say I'm surprised that there are few Khajiit here. It's cold and unwelcoming. Saber cats are basic giant cats that have evolved too dangerously sharp front teeth. The average saber cat has a reddish-brown fur, which it uses to blend into grassy regions. But I have observed them skulking and sleeping on rocks, though I don't believe the fur is for camouflage. The primary attacks of the saber cat are its biting attack, but it can also briefly rear up to attack with its front claws. I have also seen it pounce forward on its prey in a particularly powerful attack. The snowy version of the saber cat has spotted white fur, which I believe it uses more for stalking, more than its cousin in the plains. The tooth of the cat is rumored to be useful in potions that restore the imbiber's stamina, as well as a potion that will temporarily give a more keen eye for smithing. A skillful hunter can usually salvage the pelts and teeth of the kill, but report that the meat is tasteless and not fit to eat. Okay, real talk, I did not know that those books give information about like what ingredients do for which potions. It didn't even tell us about the Khajiit. What should a cat like me say to that? Unbelievable. This one might not be a cat, but a beggar prince. Still a good story. And like briefly mentioned. Rude. I need to find a dancing fire at some point. Again, if I do more of these streams, then maybe. It's a big maybe. Beggar Prince. The story of Weedle and his gifts from the Daedric Lords Namira. We look down upon the beggars of the Empire. These lost souls are the poor and wretched of the land. Every city has its beggars. Most are so poor they have only the clothes on their back. They eat the scraps the rest of us throw. We toss them coins so that we don't have to think too long about their plight. Imagine my surprise when I heard the tale of the beggar prince. I could not imagine what a prince of beggars would be. Here's the tale I heard. It takes place in the First Age, when gods walked like men and Daedra stalked the wilderness with impunity. It is a time before they were all confined to oblivion. There once was a man named Weedle, or maybe it was a woman. The story goes to great lengths to avoid declaring Weedle's gender. Weedle was the 13th child of a king in Valenwood. As such, Weedle was in no position to take the throne, or even inherit much property or wealth. Weedle had left the palace to find independent fortune and glory. After many days of endless forest roads and tiny villages, Weedle came upon a free man surrounding a beggar. The beggar was swaddled in rags from head to toe. No portion of the vagabond's body was visible. The men were intent on slaying the beggar. With a cry of rage and indignation, Weedle charged the man with sword drawn. Being simple townsfolk, armed only with pitchforks and scythes, they immediately fled from the armored figure with the shining sword. "Many thanks for saving me," wheezed the beggar from beneath the heap of foul rags. Weedle could barely stand the stench. "What is your name, wretch?" Weedle asked. "I am Namira." Unlike the townsfolk, Weedle was well learned. That name meant nothing to them, but to Weedle it was an opportunity. "You are the Daedric Lord!" Weedle exclaimed. "Why did you allow those men to harass you? You could have slain them all with a whisper." "I am pleased you recognize me," Namira rasped. "I am frequently reviled by townsfolk. It pleases me to be recognized for my attribute, if not for my name." Weedle knew that Namira was the Daedric Lord of all things gross and repulsive. Diseases such as leprosy and gangrene were her domain. For others might have seen danger, Weedle saw opportunity. "Oh, great Namira, let me apprentice myself to you. Ask only that you grant me powers to make my fortune and forge a name for myself that will live through the ages." "Nay, I make my way alone in the world. I have no need for an apprentice." Namira shambled off down the road. Weedle would not be put off. With a bound, Weedle was at Namira's heel, pressing the case for an apprenticeship. For 33 days and nights, Weedle kept up the debate. Namira said nothing, but Weedle's voice was ceaseless. Finally, on the 33rd day, Weedle was too hoarse to talk. Namira looked back at his suddenly silent figure. Weedle knelt in the mud at her feet, open hands raised in supplication. "It would seem you have completed your apprenticeship to me after all," Namira declared. "I shall grant your request." Weedle was overjoyed. "I grant you the power of disease. You may choose to be afflicted with any disease you choose, changing them at will, so long as it is visible symptom. However, you must always bear at least one. I grant you the power of pity. You may evoke pity in anyone that sees you. Finally, I grant you the power of disregard. You may cause others to disregard your presence." Weedle was aghast. These were not boons from which a fortune could be made. They were curses, each awful in its own right, but together they were unthinkable. "How am I to make my fortune and forge a name for myself with these terrible gifts?" "As you begged at my feet for 33 days and 33 nights, so shall you now beg for your fortune in the cities of men. Your name will become legendary among the beggars of Tamriel. The story of Weedle, the prince of beggars, shall be handed down throughout the generation." It was as Namira predicted. Weedle was an irresistible beggar. None could see the wretch without desperately wanting to toss a coin at the huddled form. However, Weedle also discovered that the power of disregard gave great access to the secrets of the realms. People unknowingly said important things, where Weedle could hear them. Wheel grew to know the comings and goings of every citizen in the city. To this day, it is said that if you really want to know something, go ask the beggars. They have eyes and ears throughout the city. They know all the little secrets of the daily lives of its citizens. I agree, those are some great powers. As aptly described to the final 2 pages here. Just imagine, you could just be there, learn about all the secrets of everyone, all the information you could possibly want, and nobody would even care that I told you. Truly a powerful skill. An assassin with those powers. I mean, if you wish to hire an assassin, a beggar might not even be a bad choice. They don't have much to lose, they could gain everything, they know a lot, and they're very inconspicuous. I would be horrified of Wheel. With cats and beggars all across Skyrim, time we learn about the darkest darkness. Exactly. Darkest Darkness by Anonymous. In Morrowind, both worshippers and sorcerers summon lesser Daedra and bound Daedra as servants and instruments. Most Daedric servants can be summoned by sorcerers, only for a very brief period, within the most fragile and tenuous frameworks of command and binding. This fortunately limits their capacity for mischief, but in only a few minutes, most of these servants can do terrible harm to the summoners, as well as the enemies. Worshippers may bind other Daedric servants to this plane through rituals and pacts. Such arrangements result in the Daedric servant remaining in this plane indefinitely, or at least until the bodily manifestations on this plane are destroyed, precipitating the supernatural essences back to oblivion. Whenever Daedra encounter the Daedric ruins or tombs, they are almost invariably long-term visitors to our plane. Likewise, lesser entities bound by their Daedra lords into weapons and armor may be summoned for brief periods, or may persist indefinitely, so long as they are not destroyed and banished. The class of bound weapons and bound armor summoned by temple followers and conjurers are examples of short-term binding. Daedric artifacts like Maruna's Razor and the Mask of Clericus Vile are examples of long-term binding. The Tribunal Temple of Morrowind has incorporated the veneration of Daedra as lesser spirits subservient to the immortal Almsivi, the triune godhead of Al-Malexia, Dophasil, and Vivek. These subordinate Daedra are divided into the good Daedra and the bad Daedra. The good Daedra have willingly submitted to the authority of Almsivi. The bad Daedra are rebels who defy Almsivi, treacherous kin who are more often adversaries than allies. Adversaries, sorry. The good Daedra are Boetia, Ashura, and Mephala. The Hunger is a powerful and violent lesser Daedra associated with Boethia, father of plots, a sinuous, long-limbed, long-tailed creature with a beast-skulled head, noted for its paralyzing touch and its ability to disintegrate weapons and armor. The winged Twilight is the messenger of Ashura, goddess of dusk and dawn. Winged twilight's resemble the feral harpies of the west, though the feminine aspects of the winged twilight's are more ravishing, and the long, sharp, hooked tails are immeasurably more deadly. Spider Daedra are the servants of Mephala, taking the form of spider humanoid centaurs with a naked upper head, torso, and arms of human proportions, mounted on the 8 legs and armored carapace of a giant spider. Fortunately, these Daedra are so fierce and irrational that they cannot be trusted to heed the commands of the spinner. As a consequence, few sorcerers are willing to either summon or bind such creatures in Morrowind. The bad Daedra are Maruna Stegen, Malakath, Yoggorath, and Molag Bal. 3 lesser Daedra are associated with Maruna Stegen: the agile and pesky Scam, the ferocious and beast-like Clanfear, and the noble and deadly Dremora. The crocodile-headed humanoid Daedra called the Daedrath is a servant of Molag Bal, while the giant but dim-witted Ogrim is a servant of Malakath. Yoggorath's lesser Daedra, the Golden Saint, a half-clothed human female in appearance, highly resistant to magic and a dangerous spellcaster. Another type of lesser Daedra often encountered in Morrowind is the Atronach, or Elemental Daedra. Atronachs have no binding kinship or alignments with the Daedra Lord, serving one realm or another at whim, shifting sides according to seduction, compulsion, or opportunity. Learning a lot about the Daedra Lords out here. Stretch. I shall stretch in a moment. And I don't want to work either, Nico, but alas, we have to. And all like win the lottery and become millionaires. Also, thank you so much, Blue. It's really nice seeing you around again as well. It's a nice difference, to do something calmer for one. Just reading books, learning about a completely different universe than Rainworld, and just in general doing something else than Rainworld. Nope. I will of course keep playing games in the Watcher, but I might throw some other things in between every now and then. Maybe on like Sundays. Sundays seem like a good time to spice things up a little bit. Right, the stretch. Oh, I stretched, my knee popped, and now my knee hurts. Ow, 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 ouchie, ow. Right, my bottle of water is completely empty. I'm gonna fill it up again. And I'll be back in a minute or two. So see you all very soon. There we go, I forgot to unmute myself. Best reading stream. The one where the streamer just forgets to unmute. Freedom! Yippee. This definitely is kinda nice. It's a very nice difference. Very experimental too. Didn't think that I would ever do something like this. Reading books. Thank you. This is the first time that I actually delivered on a follower goal. Oopsie. Over the course of the stream, we learned about the saber cat, the Daedra. Right, I was asked like what my favorite Daedra was. It's hard to say really. I want to say Namira. I do want to say Namira. She seems... Just the idea of like... The powers that she bestowed. And her just being completely clad in rags and wandering around. Didn't seem big and pompous like all the others, or so aggressive. That's nice. I don't think I ever heard of that one. They're right. All the knowledge we got about all the knowledge we got about different creatures in Skyrim now. I guess it's time we go through a proper bestiary of hag ravens and ice wraiths. A dragon Daedra. I like dragons. Dragons are awesome. Wonder if there's any info about them in one of the books yet? Guess we'll find out. Herbane's best theory about Hagraven. 5 suns dawn. I have heard a tale most bizarre. A beautiful young woman cast out of town by the thrown stones of accusers for giving in to the dark arts. They say she fled into the Reach and never reappeared, and justly so because they say the devilry of her magic had grown stronger with each new day. Shortly after, a witch of half woman and half bird had been sighted deep in the mountains, and as the sightings increased, the young women began to disappear. And this tale has brought me to the Reach, where the switch they call a Hagraven makes it home. With sword and shield, I are at the ready, for I must see this creature, and I must slay it. The stomach of an average man would turn at the cruelty set before me. Oh, 24 cents down. I first saw the flesh and bone, the human skulls, the dead goat heads mounted on pikes, filthy animal pelts, loose entrails, and feathers matted in blood. I had heard that forsworn revere and protect these hagravens, and all around were there small crude trinkets and altars to these witches on which sat dull, empty soldiers. What wild creature would live for all things are dead? Deeper into the lair, I heard it first, an unsteady shuffling, followed by a heaving, unforgettable stench. I thrust the torch in front of me and waited for my eyes to adjust to the tunnel of darkness ahead of me. I saw the silhouette of what I thought to be a frail woman on an awkward gate, but the light of the torch revealed something else. This hagraven was horrifying, almost human, but more an abomination of woman and creature fused together. Nothing more than a husk of humanity surrendered in exchange for possession of the powers of dark magic. This magic corrupted her greatly, and her dull glass eyes stared with hate from the visage of an old crone that atop the body of a contorted, misshapen human body adorned with black feathers. It bristled as it let out a piercing scream, and as the vivid red light began to form in the palm of his talons, it was all I could do to raise my shield in defense of magic most foul. I fought for devilry that seemed to snatch life from me, and the thought that this thing was once a woman seemed to play in my nerves. Most men would have crumbled, but I do not bend. The hagraven is a most repulsive creature, and deserving of its fate and its claws, that on my trophy will tell the story of Herbane's tribe. I have naught but to continue my travels on my conquest, for I have yet to see what would make me tremble. Must have been written by a Northern. I think we have a book about Argonians. No, we don't. We have books about the Dunmer. We didn't find the Argonian book. At least not yet. They are beautiful and smart creatures, but those hagravens, oh, those are vicious beasts. Absolute abominations of life and magic. But Herbane also has another entry about the ice ray. 17 of the last sea. When winter's chill descended upon me as I traveled further north through the frozen plains and mountains, I settled in at the inn at Dawnstar for a moment of respite and a warm meal. Another traveler there told me to be cautious, that there are creatures who settle into the powder white of the snow, with nary a clue to the careless, until it is too late. He went on and on, with wild gestures and fantastic tales of entire merchant expeditions being killed by the beast. His stories frightened the other inn patrons, but I will not be turned by a coward's tale. I will see these from my own eyes, for those icy caves and snow-capped peaks of the north are exactly the type of places called to an adventurer like me. It did not take me long to find what I sought. These ice wraiths are lucid, serpentine creatures of magic, as if conjured from the frozen tundra and glaciers of Skyrim itself. At one with an environment that makes them nearly invisible, these ethereal apparitions are the death of many Nords, if not by the sudden, unholy strike that casts the entire body through the target, then by the melody of Whitbane, a curse of infection that dulls the intellect and makes the target even more the victim. As deadly as they are, Ice Wraiths are simple-minded in their determination, and combat is a straightforward affair, and brute force and a sharp blade are enough to fell these savage creatures. Only the hardiest of men would hope to survive just one of these beasts, but I have slain two, with general ease. It's good that I found I can make decent coins selling the Ice Wraith's teeth, as they are prized ingredients in alchemical potions. It will continue to afford me the opportunity to search these lands for a challenge worthy of story, for I have yet to see what would make me tremble. A true warrior through and through. Make ravens a mockery of Ashura Stadra. Oh. I know I just read about it, but I kind of forgot already what like Ashura Stadra were. Yeah, right, the winged creatures. Yeah. They did remind me a lot of hag ravens when I talked about them. The harpies of the west. Yes. Well, there's a book that might be about dragons. A children's book, apparently. This makes sense. I did steal it from the Jarl's children's bedroom. Oh well. I didn't steal. I didn't steal any of the books. I just took them. Yes. Hope and the Dragon. An adventure for Nordboy. Chapter 1. Kolb was a brave Nord warrior. One day, his chief asked Kolb to slay an evil dragon that threatened the village. Go through the mountain pass, Kolb, his chief said. You will find the dragon on the other side. Kolb took his favorite axe and shield and walked to the pass, where he found a cold cave, a windy cave, and a narrow trail. I didn't know that that's a pick your own adventure book. Do we enter the cave? Do we at the cold cave? Do we enter the windy cave? Or do we walk up the trail? I'm gonna let chat decide. This is a cool book though. Maybe this is not good for a reading hour. Yeah, I might do that book some other time. Go for one that we can just read through. What do you think, chat? To put it away. We have more books. We have a lot of books left. A good 30 different books, I think, if not 40 or more. Caged for your protection. We continue the children's book. We enter the windy cave. Oh. A strong gust of wind blew Kolb's torch out and knocked him into a pit where he split his head and died. The end. Okay, Hydrate. Thank you. Yeah, the book decided to end for us. Give me 1 second. Just wanna make sure like the delay isn't too bad. I cannot even look at my stream anymore. What? We are live, right? Okay, yeah. With no delay. Perfect. Okay, sorry. Light armor forging. The Revis Carvani. There are two classes of light armor, metallic and non-metallic. Elven and glass are metallic light armor. You may be surprised to think that glass can be thought of as metallic, but appearances are deceiving. What we call glass is nothing like the windows panes you see in houses. The greenish material is far stronger and has a much higher melting point. Non-metallic armors are hide, studded, leather, and scaled. For these armor types, the forger is as much tailor as blacksmith. All use large pieces of leather, stitched together with leather strips. Studded armor also needs iron ingots, from which you will make the studs and metal rings, to make it more effective than simple hide. Scaled armor uses steel instead of iron, but the steel is infused with corundum to make the metal insert stronger. For centuries, the secret of making elven armor was a closely guarded secret on Somerset Isle. And then the betrayal of Ulval Laren brought it the rest of Tamriel. Ulval was a dark elf slave, working the bellows for Nulion, master smith of the Isle from the 5th through the 7th century of the Second Era. When Ulval escaped, he could think of no greater punishment to mete out to his cruel master than to reveal all his secrets to the world. Thus we came to know that moonstone is the key ingredient in elven armor, and that salt water must be used to quench the hot metal. For gilded elven armor, you must also melt in quicksilver. It melts at a much lower heat than moonstone, making it tricky to work the two metals together. The trickiest of all is glass. Hammer blows struck across the grain run the risk of shattering the armor. Its principal ingredient is malachite, although it also requires moonstone to give it the right strength. Now we even learn about smithing. Just imagine having armor that is like basically made out of really high, like strong glass. I guess it would be similar to bulletproof armor. Now that we learned about forging, let's learn a little bit about fishing. In the book Line and Lure by Alan Seberg. My name is Alan Seberg. My fame, a lecturer of, is irrelevant. I am not writer. As it so happens, my wife gave me this quill when I retired. She called it a gift. To me it is a burden, but I suppose many teachers feel the same way. If I were to walk the bridge to Sovngarde, I would take all my knowledge with me. Hard lessons learned from decades fishing the waters of Skyrim. In my life, I fished in waters open and deep, amid storms no mortal dare brook. I've ventured down bottomless caves, and challenged the monsters of the deep with my hook. I've seen them all, and caught them all, be it fish, monster, or boot. With this guide, I will teach you how to do the same. Chapter 1. A rod. Just as a warrior needs a sword and a blacksmith a hammer, the first thing any aspiring fisherman needs is a rod. You can find one at a general goods store, or left behind on boats and docks by other fishermen that have come before you. When you obtain one, wield it like you would a weapon, swinging it this way and that. Get a feel for its balance and weight. It must become an extension of your body and mind. Chapter 2. Supplies. Once you have a rod, you will next need supplies. This includes bait and other essentials to capture the fish once it's been reeled close to the shore. However, you need not bring your own. It is customary in Skyrim to leave fishing supplies by waters where the fish are plentiful. To find a set of fishing supplies is to be met with a greeting, a hearty hello from one fisherman to another. When you are done, you will leave these supplies for the next fisher. Such is the way. Chapter 3. Casting the line. When you are ready to fish, bait your hook using the fishing supply. Then cast your line with vigor and allow the hook to sink below the surface. The art of fishing is one of patience and focus. In particular, it requires the concentration of two senses, sight and touch. You might ask, how can one know if there are nearby fish for the taking? It is no different than the way moths are drawn to a flame. When your bait lands on the surface of the water, nearby fish will excitedly converge. The ripples on the surface will quickly announce their presence. Watch for these ripples carefully. The more the water stirs, the more plentiful the number of fish. In contrast, a quiet surface when your line hits the water will tell you there are no more fish to catch, and you must return in a day's time. In time, you will learn to tell fish apart based on the tug on your line. You will know the difference between a riverbed's curious nibble and a carp's eager pull. Chapter 4. Reeling it in. When you have hooked your fish, the time for patience and serenity is over. Now come the throes of war. Your fish will thrash as it fights for its life, but you must keep your grip firm and your mind focused as you reel your line and pull in your catch. Once you have reeled it in, the fish is yours. Scale it, hook it, and consume it how you please. Depending on your custom, there are different rituals to follow, but for all fishermen, catch is always cause for celebration. Chapter 5. The rare and unusual catch. Different fish are native to different climates. If you seek a variety of fish, do not stay in one place. Temperate lakes and streams to the south will hook you a different catch than snow-fringed ponds and pitch-black caverns. When you seek a fish that is seldom caught, the uncommon and rare fish that fishermen brag about until long in the years, your best bet is to fish when the sun is low on the horizon. Dawn and dusk offer the best chance to catch these elusive creatures. You seek the very rarest of fish, special rods are required. Seek the advice of those in the Riften fishery. Follow their guidance and wisdom, just as you have done with me. Of course, not every catch will feed your belly. Some may fill a coin purse, while others have interesting uses to those who brew potions. In my travels, I've even heard the tales of dwarven rods used to lure lost trinkets, settled at the bottom of ponds and lakes. For what purpose, a Nord like myself cannot know. As the world moves on, such things are lost to time. Chapter 6. In conclusion. There you have it. As I stated at the beginning of this journey, I am no writer. What is written here are not words, but a piece of me. It is the callow boy who in his arrogance was nearly dragged into the water by a goldfish. It is the shivering fishmonger sitting on a frozen bucket in the dead of night, praying to Kine that he will live to see the sunrise. It is the old man at the lake, drinking a potion of strength, turning back time so he can hook an old foe. It is part of me, and if you heed its message, it will become part of you. Seems like a favorite way to play Monster Sheep. Behind lightning go brrr. Destruction magic. Yippee. Glass is really good for mages, yeah. I like using it for my archer builds. I'm the default default assassin. Uh, wait, The default sneaky assassin archer creature. Alteration. I have never done a magic build in Skyrim, I have to admit. Like, never before. I know destruction is like destructive and conjuration is conjuring. Wasn't alteration like turning... At least in Skyrim. What did alteration do? Oh. Oh, protector spells and such. I see. I see. Stalrim Lighthouse holds enchant spells you can benefit from disenchanted ropes for your school. Ooh. I see. Stealth 100. Yeah, I do like the base game, but I feel like the base game is very heavily focused on either heavy armor and strong weapons, or sneaky archery. At least when it comes to combat. Which is a shame, because magic is really cool. Oh, melee is pretty good. My first build was melee. And ultimately basically an invincible powerhouse. Yeah, it's the one I usually take as well, because it's simply the easiest. Eat all the cheese. Still a very beautiful game though. Like, I know mods add so much stuff to the game, but I feel like I could still play it vanilla. Like, if it started playthrough today, I could probably finish it in vanilla and enjoy myself the entire way. It's like Fallout 4, which is something I'm currently doing actually. Game's beautiful. The Stealth Archer is really just the most powerful build. I remember at some point having like the whole Dark Brotherhood stuff done and being Stealth Dagger and stuff. And being able to just like sneak on top of dragons and backstab them with a dagger with like 30 times crit damage and insta-killing them. That was an experience. I don't remember which dragon it was. It was somewhere in like a dragon shrine up on a mountain. I have to actually finish this game one day. I finished the base game but never the DLC. Also, I'm not sure for how long I'm gonna like do this stream with the book reading. Museum mod lets you collect and expose every interesting item. That is one that I want. That is a mod that I actually... That is a mod that I would want to have, yeah. Because I love collecting stuff. I'm a collector. And then I've seen it on YouTube Shorts recently. It looks so beautiful. It is such an amazing looking mod. And I mean main quest. Main quest is also subjective to me in Skyrim. Because yeah, of course, you have like your main quest line that you have to do. There's so many major side quests. Some better, some worse. That's so much to do. So the museum mod that might wanna actually get at some point, if I ever have the time to play this game. Fire Beyond, Rumor. Oh, so many mods. So, call me, call me a boomer for that, or anything they like. But I feel like mods should not be necessary to enjoy a game. They can enhance the game, but I feel like playing a game without mods should always be a baseline and should be enjoyable. Should be like game good or bad. Oh, we turned to a car. We got the car camera. If you're interested in the museum mod, look up Legacy of the Dragonborn. I saw that. I was considering getting that. I'm not sure. I'll have to consider it. Again, if I ever have the time to play this game. Usually the only mods like put into games are for stability. If the game is actually unplayable, then I'm a lot more willing to install a mod. But most of the time, okay, the spinning is making me dizzy. Most of the time, I enjoy my games vanilla. Start Oblivion or playing Skyrim. Oh, you are in for like 500 hours of gameplay. 10,000 hours. Oh boy. That's a lot of hours. It is. It really is. I followed the development of some of them. Like, again, watching some videos on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, exploring some of the different content. And I can definitely understand why people left them. Makes me wish that, like, base games in general would just be more expensive. And focusing more on like really proper big pieces of content rather than tons of small pieces like we have here, and more impactful stuff. Maybe that's a better way to say it, just more impactful stuff. Then again, maybe I'm jaded. I mean, Skyrim is 10 years old. I played through the main base game twice. Maybe I'm just asking for a lot. That's the reason why I prefer stop spinning. That's the reason why I really like indie games. Prime example, the Project Moon games. So, Lobotomy Corp, Library of Ruina, and Limbus Company. Or Rhythm Doctor. Rhythm Doctor is a really good example. Because those games are beautiful. You can really feel like that they're made with love in them. With heart and soul. And with community in mind. Oblivion NPCs are great. I know that video. I know exactly which video you're talking about. Rhythm Doctor is so peak. My desire to get everything on like S Plus kinda kept me from playing it. It's such a good game. I initially thought of streaming it as well, but I don't feel like it would be that interesting to watch. Skyrim and Fallout 4 in general feel like they were downgrades. Like, better combat statistics and everything. Bigger, of course, more replayability, but way less personality. Way less personality. I think that's what I'm missing in games. Personality. Aw, thank you, Tenko. I appreciate it. Aw. Like, prime example that I always take between Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4 is the dialogue system. They butchered the dialogue system in Fallout 4. It's just so sad. Yeah, it is a completely different game. Different style, different everything. I do like the gameplay a lot. I like the web modding a lot. I love the settlement system. I genuinely love the settlement. If Fallout 4 didn't have that horrendous dialogue system, I might say it's equal to New Vegas. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Running in, guns blazing. I would never become a raider. I couldn't. Also, I never did the DLCs in Fallout 4. I have them, but never played them. People keep telling me to do Far Harbor. One day. But yeah, the gameplay is great. I I must admit, after playing in survival mode now for my playthrough, I kinda really started enjoying the infrastructure as well. Like, all the step tunnels and all that. The resistant fist fighting build. Oh, that sounds beautiful. That sounds so beautiful. Just to wait until we're done with Rain World, then we do Outer Wilds, and after that, then we'll figure something out. A melee build in Fallout. Yeah, exactly. That's what I just wanted to mention. That perk sounds like it's so much fun. I never did that before. I might. Skyrim in VR. If only that weren't another 60 euros. If Skyrim in VR weren't so incredibly expensive, I would try it. Buggy or not, it's the price tag that bothers me. You can make so many insane builds in Fallout 4. Again, stuff that constantly pops up in my feed lately. One was the, like a drug addict build. Just getting all the addictions and all the armor that that gives you bonus stats, bonus damage if you have an addiction. Getting fully irradiated, and then getting like, was it the perk that makes it deal more damage depending on your radiation? There's so much. There is so much you can do in that game. I am excited for a new Fallout. I really am. However, I worry that I'm just worried about new games in general. Like all the AAA titles that I used to enjoy as a kid, which is really weird to say. There really weren't many more, huh? it's just, it feels different. I mean, I'm old school. I love the RPG elements a lot. That's why I fell in love with Oblivion and Morrowind as well. All the weird RPG things. And Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Go play Terraria with some friends. Enjoy it! I thought I put out a new update. I hope you can have a lot of fun, Blue. Haxa, I have a double barrel shotgun with explosive bullets. I basically, if I aim at something from close enough range, it explodes in front of me. Even on the highest difficulty. Same here, Blue. I am only looking forward to the new Fallout and Elder Scrolls game, and besides that, there's nothing. Maybe the Cyberpunk updates, but I haven't continued that either. Indie games, on the other hand, well, okay, there's one. I am very excited for Soulframe. I have very, very high hopes for Soulframe from DE. Oh. They're simply eating machines. Ah yes, the good old times when you like hit a skeleton and it dies to bleeding damage. We've been talking so long that the sun started to set. With the update that I want to make to Soulframe now, with the extreme changes to the virtue system, I'm concerned. I feel like it's gonna be a good change, but I am concerned. Ah, Deltron Chapter 5. Ah. Good old Deltarion. The game I most likely won't play, but I always love seeing things about it. How is it gonna continue being good? We have a few more books in our inventory. Let's say I'm gonna read like 1 or 2 more. And I believe then I might end the reading hour. That's a nice little experimental stream though. Not sure. Might just continue streaming a little bit more. Just something else. Then we gotta... Yeah. 1999 was also interesting, but I've never followed the game that much. One of the reasons I'm hyped for Soulframe is that I feel like it's actually like on the curve. Like, I feel like I'm on the curve right now. I'm not like jumping into a game that's out since 10 years. Ah, oh, that's a great Christmas present. Enjoy it, yes. Absolutely beautiful game. We do seem to have another book about a dragon. I'm not sure if that's not a children's book though. Olaf and the Dragon by Edonato Liotelli. One of the more colorful legends in Norse folklore is the tale of Olaf One-Eye and Numinex. Long ago in the First Age, a fearsome dragon named Numinex ravaged the whole of Skyrim. The dreadful drake wiped out entire villages, burned cities, and killed countless Nords. It seemed that no power in Tamriel could stop the monster. This was a troubled time in Skyrim's history, where a bitter war of succession raged between the holds. The Jarls might have been able to conquest the beast if they had worked together, but trust was in desperately short supply. A skillful warrior named Olaf came forward and promised to defeat the beast. In some accounts, he is the Jarl of Whiterun. In other versions of the legend, Olaf promises the people of Whiterun that he will capture the monster if they will name him Jarl. At any rate, Olaf ventures forth with a handful of his most trusted warriors and seeks the beast out, eventually finding Numenex in his lair atop Mount Afor. Needless to say, it's an epic battle. First, Olaf comes at the dragon with his axe and his shield. Some variants of the legend say that Olaf and the beast battled with blade and claw for days, but were too evenly matched for either to gain an advantage. Most accounts hold that Olaf, perhaps frustrated that his weapons are completely ineffectual against the dragon, finally casts them aside. Giving voice to the rage that has been building within him, Olaf unleashes a terrible shout. Here again, the stories diverge. Many accounts hold that Olaf did not realize he possessed the power of dragon speech, while others suggest he had long possessed this gift, but wished to test himself against the dragon in martial combat first. Virtually all variations of the legend, however, agree on what happened next. Using the awesome powers of the dragon language, Numenex and Olaf engaged in an epic shouting duel atop Mount Afor. So forceful are the words, they are said to shatter the stone and split the sky. Finally, Numenex collapses from a combination of injury and sheer exhaustion. Somehow, and this detail is conspicuously absent in virtually every account, Olaf manages to convey the dragon all the way back to the capital city of Whiterun. The people of Whiterun are suitably impressed with Olaf's hostage. They build a huge stone holding cell at the rear of the palace, which they rename Dragon Street. This enormous cell serves as Numenex's prison until his death. Olaf himself eventually becomes the High King of Skyrim, putting an end to the War of Succession. Presumably, his great deed made him the only leader upon whom all the people could agree, and so the land once again has peace. As a visitor to Skyrim, I find this tale both fascinating and highly entertaining. It is one of the most celebrated legends of the North, and one can easily understand why. It's a story of surpassing heroism, in which a resourceful and worthy Nord does battle with a truly terrifying adversary and emerges victorious by yelling him into submission. The only way in which this could have been even more of a Nordic tale would be if Olaf beat Numenex in a drinking contest. The legend is not without its doubters, however. The bard Svagnir, who lived during Olaf's reign, wrote and performed an alliterative verse that challenged Olaf's version of events. Enraged, the High King threw the rebellious bard to prison and destroyed all written copies of the verse. I would love to lay hands on a copy of that verse. I admit I'm immensely curious to know what assertions Svagnir made about how Olaf really defeated Numenex. There are a few ancient bard texts that provide one possible answer. These tomes suggest that Numenex was particularly foul-tempered because he was extremely old. In these accounts, the dragon spends its final years terrorizing the countryside before flying off to the top of Mount Afor to die in peace. When Olaf finds Numenex, the dragon is too weak to defend himself. Olaf and his men capture the beast without effort, but decide to take advantage of the situation by fabricating a heroic tale. It is worth noting that all of Olaf's warriors who were said to witness the shout duel went on to become wealthy leaders during Olaf's reign as High King. However, it is equally likely that Svagnir had some grudge against Olaf, and the scandalous verse was an attempt to damage the High King's reputation. Alas, we will never know. I leave you now, good reader, with this gentle reminder. A good historian must remain impartial and consider all points of view. Time is a way of distorting our record of events, so the closer you can get to the original sources, the better. Very true. Imagine having like a Nordic warrior and a dragon just having a rap battle up on top of a mountain. truly an epic rap battle of history. Sorry, I had to. And shouting at dragons seems to work surprisingly well, considering they are, well, you know, dragons. Right. The final book of the day's stream. Ode to the Tundra Striders. O mighty Tundra Strider, how you and your mighty tusked beast silhouette against the great orange expanse. Thundering footsteps herald your herd, man and beast blazing trail together. One in nature, each relying upon the other, more than just man and beast, but equals who need one another to survive. How I long to run across the tundra in the mighty way. That would truly be my greatest honor. The morning would be spent gathering dyes to paint the mammoths, and then carve the fiercest images into their tusks. Then it would be time for the skeever hunt. Our clubs would rain down upon the red pests, smashing the life out of them. In the evening, could sit around the campfire, and I would regale those nearby with songs of their majesty and grace. They would let me sample of the mammoth's cheese, a food so foul, yet with healing properties so great. I'd snack on the roasted skeever we'd freshly caught that day before laying under the stars to sleep. I'd slowly fade to dream, nested in the radiating heat of mammoth fur, its cold-resisting properties keeping me snug. What a grand time we would have. By an unknown author. Seems to be very obsessed with giant mammoths. Well, the day has come and gone. It's time we go back to the little hut. I would think the elderly lady has probably not returned yet. Which is alright. We'll just take care of her hut for now. Under the stars of Skyrim. I wish she had any sort of light here. A lantern or a torch perhaps. Well, there's a candle. Of course, Tenku. Which book is it? Oh, that's the wrong one. There. Putting our books back into our hut. Ruminations in the Elder Scrolls Perceptimus Signet. That's definitely one we don't have here. Is that the one... Do you get that one in his little cube? Because I remember Septimus. I remember where to find him. Interesting. I know if I do another reading, I should try to become Archmage of Winterhold and get the library. If we have library access to there, I think we can have almost every book in existence. I mean, to think all those books we found, or we just read, and all the books that are still in our closet, well, wardrobe, we found all of them in Dragon's Reach. Every single one of them. There's another one in there, but I can't take it. It's worth too much. It's worth more than 25 septim. This was a very nice experiment though. I had fun doing this. Yeah, it's a book about like magic. It did give me magic point. A skill book, as others might say. Magic. I hope all of you enjoyed the reading hour as well. That wasn't too uninteresting. That sound quality was okay. Oh, thank you. Freedom! Now, something I thought of was, I'll be gone for almost 2 weeks soon, starting next Wednesday. Wednesday? Sunday. Yeah, next Sunday. I was thinking of just like recording the books one after another. Maybe not from the stream here, but just other books that are here in the game. And maybe just uploading them to my YouTube channel. You know, scheduling in some videos. There's not complete radio silence for almost 2 full weeks. Maybe. If I can find the motivation to actually do that. More freedom! Yay! Neck out here like dropping the cages on me all the time. Unbelievable. Yes. I think I might end the stream here. Since I do need to get up early tomorrow and I am tired. Maybe. Yeah. I don't feel like continuing the watcher right now for like an hour. That's something I really want to do. So, thank you all for watching along. Thanks for actually letting me do this and actively chatting as well, because that really boosted my self-confidence with such things. Believe it or not, I was incredibly nervous when I pressed the start streaming button, because I had no idea how this will be received, how this could possibly go, and I feared it would just kind of all fall apart. And, you know, I'm not really used to reading to an audience. So thank y'all. I truly appreciate it. Look at the moon. Where's the other moon? Didn't Skyrim with 2 moons? I feel like there's supposed to be a second planet over there. Maybe hidden by the clouds. Yep. Yes. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Tanka. Yes. You get yourself some water. You get a snack. You get some rest if you can. I shall do the same. Whoa, it's a Kim. Kip. Hey, Kip. You joined right at the end. I'm sorry. I'll probably be streaming again tomorrow. I should have time. Got nothing to do after work. Got enough groceries to survive for an entire week. So tomorrow we will continue with Brain Worlds the Watcher. Yes. Oh, we got something. Right, thank you so much for the follow we got. Already thinking of potential like other milestones. I was thinking if we ever reach 1,000, I might do a 12 or 24-hour stream of various games, various reading times. We'll see. Something on the weekend. And the 1,000 is still years away. So we're all good. We're all chill. You enjoy Terraria, Blue? Wow. A final stretch. A final stretch before ending the stream. Oh, wow. Oh, I knew that after sitting for so long. Eating entirely Pebbles megastructure. I'll bake a cake like in the shape of Pebbles' megastructure. There we go. And then I'm gonna eat it. That's gonna be the 1,000 follower special. No, I'm kidding. Alright. Either way, have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you for being here. And see you all again. Most definitely tomorrow. Bye bye.